first heartbreak came in the form of Ifeanyi, the son of her father's business associate. Ifeanyi had every quality Dora wanted. He was tall, dark, handsome, and ridiculously wealthy. From the moment they met at one of her father's business dinners, he seemed smitten. "I couldn't take my eyes off you all evening," he had whispered to her as they danced that night. Dora blushed, feeling a flutter in her chest. Their relationship quickly blossomed, but the fairy tale crumbled when Dora overheard a conversation between Ifeanyi and one of his friends. Dorothy, or Dora, as her father fondly called her, was the perfect picture of privilege and comfort. She was born into a life many only dreamt of. Her father, Chief Nelson, owned a thriving conglomerate with investments in oil, real estate, and telecommunications. He was one of the wealthiest men in the country, and Dora, his only child, was the apple of his eyes. Tragedy struck the family when Dora's mother passed away during childbirth. Chief Nelson, devastated but determined, vowed to give his daughter the best life possible. He threw himself into his work, ensuring she never lacked anything. From the moment she could walk, Dora was surrounded by the finest things money could buy: designer clothes, exotic toys, private tutors, and as she grew older, first-class tickets to any destination her heart desired. "Dora," her father often said, "you are my greatest treasure. Whatever you want, just ask, and it's yours." And Chief Nelson kept his word. By the time she turned 21, Dora had traveled to more countries than she could count. Today it was Paris, tomorrow it was Italy. Her wardrobe was filled with the latest fashion from Milan. Her Instagram was a gallery of her opulent lifestyle. She attended high-profile events where champagne flowed endlessly and celebrities mingled freely. She was a regular at exclusive spas and could walk into any luxury boutique and buy whatever caught her eye without checking the price tag. But despite all this, Dora felt an emptiness she couldn't shake. At night, when the world went quiet and she was alone in a spacious marble-floored room, the void in her heart would creep up on her. It was the one thing money couldn't buy: true love. Her best friend Sandra often visited her. Sandra was the only one Dora could talk to about her feelings without fear of judgment. She had been friends since secondary school, and while Sandra didn't come from a wealthy background, her intelligence and loyalty made her indispensable to Dora. "Do you know what I want more than anything?" Dora asked Sandra one evening. Sandra sipped her mocktail and raised an eyebrow. "Another trip to Dubai, or maybe a new designer handbag?" Dora rolled her eyes. "No, Sandra, I'm serious. I want to find my Prince Charming." Sandra chuckled. "Oh, here we go again. Let me guess, tall, dark, and handsome, and filthy rich?" "You made it sound like I'm asking for too much," Dora said, feigning offense. Sandra placed her glass on the table and leaned closer. "Dora, you know I love you, but your checklist is a bit much. Maybe you should focus on finding someone who makes you happy instead of ticking all the boxes." Dora waved her hand dismissively. "Please, Sandra, my father has provided me with this lifestyle. The least my future husband can do is to maintain it." Sandra sighed but didn't argue. She knew Dora was stubborn, and there was no changing her mind. Despite her strong opinions, Dora's pursuit of love hasn't been easy. Men flocked to her, drawn by her beauty and wealth, but most turned out to be disappointments. Still, she refused to give up on her dream of finding a man who met her high standards. Sandra shook her head with a laugh. "Well, let's see how long that list of yours holds up." Beneath the polished image of a girl who had it all was someone who longed for something genuine, something money couldn't buy. Her journey was marked by a series of heartbreaks that left her questioning if true love even existed. The first heartbreak came in the form of Ifeanyi, the son of her father's business associate. Ifeanyi had every quality Dora wanted. He was tall, dark, handsome, and ridiculously wealthy. From the moment they met at one of her father's business dinners, he seemed smitten. I couldn't take my eyes off you all evening, he had whispered to her as they danced that night. Dora blushed, feeling a flutter in her chest. Their relationship quickly blossomed. Ifeanyi was everything she thought she wanted. He spoiled her with expensive gifts, diamond bracelets, designer bags, and even a car on her birthday. They traveled together, dining at the most luxurious restaurants and staying at exclusive resorts. To Dora, it felt like a fairy tale. She had even started calling him her husband when she spoke with Sandra. Dora, are you sure about Ifeanyi? Sandra has asked one day, her voice cautious. Sure? I am more than sure. Ifeanyi is perfect, Sandra. He ticks every box, Dora replied, her tone dreamy. But the fairy tale crumbled when Dora overheard a conversation between Ifeanyi and one of his friends during a party at her father's mansion. Chief Nelson's daughter is the key, man. Once we are married, I'll be in line to control a chunk of his empire, Ifeanyi had said, laughing. Dora's heart dropped. All the expensive gifts and trips meant nothing. He didn't love her. He wanted her father's wealth. That night, she ended things, leaving Ifeanyi shocked and speechless. Sandra was there to pick up the pieces. Dora, my love, I'm so sorry, she said, hugging her tightly as Dora sobbed. Why does this keep happening to me? Dora asked. Sandra didn't have an answer, but she stayed by her friend's side, offering comfort. Next came Bolaji, a man she met at a glamorous party hosted by one of her friends. Bolaji had a magnetic charm that was so hard to ignore. He was a confident and successful entrepreneur, and his laughter could light up a room. Dora was drawn to him instantly. Their first date was so magical, a candlelit dinner at a rooftop overlooking the city. Bola listened intently as Dora talked about her dreams and laughed at her jokes. He seemed different from Ifeanyi. But as the weeks went by, the cracks began to show. Dora started noticing the countless calls and messages on his phone, most of which he dismissed. One day, while at his apartment, she accidentally saw a message pop up on his phone from a woman named Vanessa. Can't wait to see you tonight, my love. Dora confronted him instantly. Who is Vanessa? Bolaji sighed, running a hand through his hair. It's not what you think, Dora, but it was exactly what she thought. A little digging revealed he was juggling multiple women, each believing they were the only one. Heartbroken and furious, she walked away, vowing never to let herself be fooled again. Sandra was there as always. Dora, you need to be careful. Not everyone deserves you, she said gently. But why does this keep happening to me? Dora asked between tears. Sandra didn't have an answer, but she stayed by her friend's side, offering comfort as usual. Then came Hassan, the man Dora thought might be finally different. They met during one of her trips to Dubai. Hassan was everything she dreamt of. Suave, intelligent and incredibly romantic. Their connection was so instant. He treated her like a queen, taking her on private yacht cruises, arranging intimate dinner under the stars. For the first time in a long while, Dora felt at peace. Her world shattered once more when she discovered the truth. While scrolling through his social media profile, she stumbled upon a photo of Hassan with a woman and 2 children. The caption read, "Family is everything." Dora's hand trembled as she stared at the screen. She felt like a fool. Confronting Hassan only confirmed her tears. He admitted he was married, but claimed he had fallen for her and wouldn't mind making her his second wife. "I love you, Dora," he said, but his words meant nothing to her anymore. She was the daughter of Chief Nelson and couldn't settle to be anyone's second wife. By now, Dora was numb. Each heartbreak left her more guarded than the last. Sandra, the ever-loyal friend, tried to offer advice. "Dora, maybe you need to stop focusing on the checklist. Love isn't perfect. It's not always about what someone has," Sandra said. But Dora wasn't ready to give up. "Sandra, mine will be different. My Prince Charming is out there. I know it." Sandra sighed, knowing her friend was stubborn, but she hoped Dora would eventually realize that love wasn't about ticking boxes. It was about finding someone who truly cared. It was a sunny afternoon when Sandra walked into Dora's room with a mischievous grin and a box of small chops in her hands. "Dora, you have to try this," Sandra said, placing the box on the glass table in front of Dora. Dora looked up from her phone, raising an eyebrow. "What's that?" "Just taste it. I promise you will love it." Sandra smiled, opening the box to reveal neatly arranged puff-puffs, samosas, spring rolls, and tiny grilled meat skewers. Dora hesitated for a moment but eventually picked up one, took a bite, and her expression changing from disinterest to delight. This is so good. Where did you get it?" Sandra smiled. "From the small kiosk near my house. I've been buying from there for weeks now. The owner, Daniel, makes the best small chops I've ever tasted." Dora, the ever perfectionist when it came to planning events, nodded thoughtfully. "You know, my dad's birthday is next month. This would be perfect for my party menu. But are you sure this Daniel guy can handle big orders?" Sandra chuckled. "He is good, trust me. Why don't we go there and talk to him? You can see for yourself." Dora frowned slightly. "A roadside kiosk? Sandra, you know I don't do places like that." Sandra rolled her eyes. "Come on, Dora. It's just a kiosk, not the end of the world. Besides, you want the best for your dad's party, right? This is it." Reluctantly, Dora agreed. A few days later, the two friends drove to the kiosk. Dora's sleek black car, parked right outside the modest structure, drew attention from the few customers nearby. The kiosk was simple. It was a beautiful setup with a metal roof, neatly decorated with handwritten sign that read, "Daniel's Chops." A mouth-watering aroma wafted through the air, but Dora barely noticed as she stepped out of the car, her nose wrinkling slightly in disapproval. "This is it?" Dora asked, glancing at Sandra as though she had just been led into a dump. Sandra sighed. "Yes, this is it. Just give it a chance." Inside, Daniel stood behind the counter wearing an apron. He was busy packing an order when the sound of Dora's heel clinking on the ground caught his attention. He looked up and froze. Dora's appearance was striking. Her perfectly styled hair, designer sunglasses, and expensive handbag screamed luxury. Daniel's hand hovered awkwardly over the small chops box he was selling. Sandra cleared her throat. "Excuse me." Daniel jerked back to reality, quickly setting the box aside. "Oh, hi, welcome to Daniel's Chops. How can I help you?" Sandra smiled warmly. "My friend here loved your small chops. I want to place a big order for a birthday party." Daniel's eyes flickered back to Dora, who was standing stiffly with her arms crossed. He smiled nervously. "That's great. I'll be happy to help." Dora, unimpressed by his enthusiasm, raised an eyebrow. "How big are your orders usually? Can you even handle a large party?" Her tone was sharp, and Daniel fluttered slightly before regaining his composure. "I've handled a few big events before. If you let me know what you need, I can make it happen." Dora scoffed lightly, looking around at the kiosk. "Well, we'll see." Sandra quickly stepped into to ease the tension. "Don't mind her, Daniel. She's just particular about quality. Can you give us your menu and pricing?" Daniel nodded and handed Sandra a small laminated sheet. He kept stealing glances at Dora, but she avoided looking at him directly. When they left the kiosk, Sandra turned to Dora as they got into the car. "Dora, you didn't have to be so rude." "I wasn't rude. I was just being honest. That place doesn't exactly scream professionalism." Sandra shook her head. "You can't judge everything by appearances. The guy seems passionate about what he does. Besides, he has helping hands, and his small chops are amazing. That's what matters, right?" Dora said nothing, staring out the window as they drove off. She couldn't shake the lingering thought of Daniel's nervous smile. Days passed, and Dora tried her best to forget about Daniel's kiosk. She visited high-end catering services, hoping to find an alternate best that would meet their standards, but no matter where she went, nothing compared to the taste of Daniel's small chops. She hated to admit it, but the roadside kiosks had something special that the luxury places lacked. One evening, after another disappointing tasting session, Dora found herself parked outside Daniel's kiosk again. She hesitated for a moment, gripping the steering wheel tightly. "This is ridiculous," she muttered to herself, but deep down she knew there was no other option. Taking a deep breath, she stepped out of the car and walked into the kiosk. It was less busy than the last time, and Daniel looked up from behind the counter, surprised to see her. His face lit up with a smile. "Hi, you're back," he said, his voice full of genuine excitement. "Yes, I am back," Dora replied coolly, adjusting a designer bag on her shoulders. "I have decided to use your small chops for my father's birthday party." Daniel's smile widened. "That's wonderful. Thank you very much for trusting me. I promise you won't regret it." Dora nodded, still keeping her tone reserved. "I hope not. Let's get started on the menu." As they sat down to discuss the details, Daniel listened attentively to Dora's preferences, offering suggestions when needed. His politeness and willingness to accommodate her request didn't go unnoticed. Although Dora tried to remain aloof, she couldn't help but feel a slight warmth towards him. For the first time, she noticed the passion in his voice as he talked about his business. "I started this kiosk 3 years ago," Daniel said. "It wasn't much at first, but I wanted to bring something unique to the community. Food brings people together, you know." Dora raised an eyebrow but said nothing, letting him continue. "Your father's party will be my biggest event yet. I'll make sure everything is perfect." Dora nodded again, her icy demeanor towering just a little. "You had better be. My dad's parties are a big deal." As they finalized the plan, Dora realized that Daniel wasn't as ordinary as she had initially thought. There was something refreshing about his sincerity, a quality she rarely encountered in the wealthy circles she was used to. Over the next few days, Dora found herself spending more time at Daniel's kiosk. Each visit was initially business-focused, but slowly their conversations began to extend beyond the party plans. Daniel was always cheerful and polite, treating Dora with respect despite her occasional sharp remarks. He shared stories about his life, how he had started his business from scratch with the little savings he had as at then, and how he dreamt of expanding one day. Dora listened quietly, her guarded nature making it hard for her to fully open up, but there were moments when she caught herself smiling at his jokes or nodding in agreement to his views on life. One beautiful afternoon, after a long session of menu planning, Daniel handed Dora a small plate of freshly made puff-puff. "Here, on the house," he said with a smile. Dora looked at the plate skeptically. "What's this for?" "Just a thank you for choosing my business," Daniel replied, "and maybe to prove that I make the best puff-puffs in town." Dora hesitated, but eventually picked one up and took a bite. It was warm, fluffy, and so delicious. She hated to admit it, but he was right. "It's not bad," she said, trying to sound unimpressed. Daniel chuckled. "I'll take that as a compliment." That evening, as Dora sat in her car, she couldn't stop thinking about Daniel's smile. There was a simplicity about him that was different from the men she had dated before. When she confided in Sandra that night, Sandra listened with a knowing smile. "Dora, you like him, don't you?" Dora's cheek flushed. "Don't be ridiculous. He is nice, but I don't see him that way. Please." Sandra shook her head. "You're lying to yourself. I can see it in your eyes. Why don't you give him a chance? He's kind, hardworking, and clearly likes you. Isn't that what matters?" Dora scoffed. "Sandra, be serious. He owns a kiosk. Do you think someone like that could ever fit into my world?" Sandra sighed. "Maybe your world needs some adjusting, Dora. Love doesn't always come in the package you expect." Dora fell silent, unable to argue. She wasn't ready to admit it yet, but a part of her couldn't deny the growing connection that she felt with Daniel. Dora had never planned to fall for Daniel, but somehow it began to happen. After weeks of spending time together, discussing not just the party, but life in general, she began to look forward to their conversations. Daniel had a way of making her laugh, something she hadn't done genuinely in a long time. Their first official date wasn't anything grand. Daniel just invited her to his kiosk after closing hours. He served her his best small chops and homemade zobo drink. "It's not Paris," he joked as he placed the food before her, "but I promise it will taste better than anything you've had in Paris." Dora laughed, something she rarely did. "You're lucky your food is good, otherwise This setup wouldn't impress me. Daniel smiled. I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you. As they ate and talked, Dora felt a warmth she hadn't known before. Daniel listened to her without trying to impress or win her over with expensive gifts. His attention was genuine, his laughter was infectious. For the first time, Dora felt loved for who she was, not for her father's wealth or social status. When Daniel walked her to her car that night, she found herself smiling all the way home. Their relationship blossomed quickly. Daniel showed her parts of the city she had never seen before, simple places with big hearts. They went to local parks, street markets, and even a small music festival. Dora found herself enjoying these new experiences, though she tried not to admit it out loud. Who would have thought you would be this adventurous? Daniel teased one day as they strolled through the bustling market. Dora rolled her eyes playfully. Don't get used to it, mister. I still prefer five-star restaurants, please. But deep down, she was beginning to feel at home in Daniel's words. As their relationship grew, so did the challenges. Dora loved Daniel, but she couldn't ignore the vast gap between their lifestyle. She was used to extravagance, designer bags, private jets, and luxury vacations. Daniel, on the other hand, lived a modest life, pouring most of his earnings back into his business. At first, she tried to adapt. She stopped suggesting expensive outings and began accepting simpler dates. But the reality of her situation hit hard when she attended a friend's bridal shower. Surrounded by wealth and opulence, Dora felt out of place. Her friends, who were used to her dating wealthy men, questioned about her new boyfriend. So Dora, what does your guy do again? One of them asked, sipping champagne. He runs his own business, Dora replied vaguely. Oh, what kind of business? Tech? Real estate? Dora hesitated. Food. He owns a small shop kiosk. The silence that followed was deafening. Then came the forced smile and polite nods. Dora left the event feeling so embarrassed, even though she hated herself for feeling that way. The tension between her expectations and Daniel's reality grew. She started making subtle comments about how he could expand his business or earn more money. You're so talented, Daniel, she said one evening. Have you thought about opening a bigger restaurant? You could attract wealthier clients, don't you think? Daniel's face clouded. I've thought about it, but that takes time and resources. I'm building something steady, Dora. It's not about quick money. Dora sighed. But don't you want more? Don't you want to provide better things for us? Daniel looked at her carefully. Dora, I'm doing the best I can. I love you, but I won't compromise my integrity to change something that isn't real. His words stung, but it didn't stop her from wanting more. Dora's demands became more frequent, her dissatisfaction more apparent. Daniel, who had always been patient, began to feel the strain. He started working longer hours, trying to save more money, but it was never enough for Dora. The very thing that brought them together, the simplicity of his love, was now becoming a source of conflict. One evening, after a particularly heated argument about money, Daniel sat quietly, staring at the floor. Dora, he said softly, I love you, but I don't know if I can keep up with your word. Dora looked away, her heart heavy. She didn't want to lose him, but she also couldn't ignore how different their words were. For the first time, she began to feel that love might not be enough to bridge the gap between them. Dora and Daniel's relationship had become a battlefield. While their love for each other was undeniable, the cracks caused by their differing words widened daily. Dora's demand for more expensive outings, gifts, and trips placed unbearable pressure on Daniel. He worked tirelessly at his kiosk, hoping to meet her expectations, but it was never enough. One evening, after Dora complained for the umpteenth time about Daniel not doing enough, he snapped. It wasn't a sudden outburst, but the result of weeks of suppressed frustration. Dora, I love you, Daniel said, but I can't keep pretending that I can afford the life you want. I've given you all I can, but it's not enough for you, and honestly, I don't think it will ever be. Dora's pride kicked in. So what are you saying, Daniel? That I am too much for you? That I should lower my standards? No, Daniel replied, looking her straight in the eyes. I am saying I won't compromise my integrity to chase something that isn't real. I love you, but this isn't working. Can't you see it? Dora froze, stunned by his words. She had expected Daniel to continue bending over backward for her, not to stand his ground and walk away, but that's exactly what he did. As he walked out, Dora's heart felt like it was breaking into pieces, but her pride wouldn't let her run after him. Instead, she masked her pain with anger, convincing herself that she would get over him quickly. After all, he was just another man who couldn't meet her standards. Yet, deep down, she felt an emptiness that no amount of luxury or distractions could fill. Weeks turned into months, and Dora tried everything to forget Daniel. She traveled, she shopped, attended high-profile events, but nothing seemed to fill the void he had left. Everywhere she went, memories of him lingered. By the way he smiled, the warmth of his laughter, the kindness in his eyes, Sandra noticed the change in her friend. Dora, you've been quieter these days. Are you sure you're okay? She asked one evening as they shared drinks on a rooftop lounge. I'm fine, Dora replied, forcing a smile. But Sandra wasn't convinced. You miss him, don't you? Dora hesitated before nodding. I thought I could forget him, Sandra. I thought I would move on like I always do. But it's different this time. I miss him. I miss his simplicity, his honesty, and the way he made me feel like I didn't need to prove anything to be loved. Then why don't you tell him that? Sandra asked. Dora shook her head. He walked away from me. Sandra, what if he doesn't want me back? Sandra placed a hand on her shoulder. You won't know unless you try. Sometimes, love is worth swallowing your pride for. Dora's nights were filled with restless thoughts of Daniel. She replayed their last conversations over and over again, realizing how unfair she had been to him. She had been so blinded by her expectations that she overlooked the rare gem she had in Daniel. For the first time in her life, Dora felt so vulnerable, like she had lost something truly irreplaceable. But was it too late to make things right? As weeks passed, Dora's heartache transformed into determination. She began to reevaluate her priorities and reflect on what truly mattered in life. With Sandra's support, Dora took small steps towards embracing a simpler lifestyle. Instead of spending her weekends at glamorous parties, she volunteered at local charity that served underprivileged children. Watching the smiles on their faces filled her with a sense of purpose. She realized that the joy she had been seeking in material possessions was far more fulfilling when shared with others. On one of her volunteer days, Dora met a young girl named Chika, who dreamt of becoming a doctor. Chika's enthusiasm for learning reignited Dora's passion for life beyond luxury. They spent hours together, and Dora felt a warmth in her heart that she hadn't felt in a long time. Why do you want to become a doctor? Dora asked, as they painted a mural on the community center wall. Because I want to help people, Chika replied with shiny eyes. I want to make them feel better. I didn't have a lot of healthcare privileges while growing up, and I want to provide these for underprivileged children like myself. Dora smiled, feeling inspired by the girl's innocence and ambition. It was moments like these that helped her see the beauty in life's simplicity. She started to find joy in the little things like cooking meals, spending time with friends, and enjoying nature. One afternoon, fueled by a newfound courage, Dora decided to visit Daniel's kiosks. She had rehearsed what she would say 100 times in her mind, and though her heart raced, she felt it was time to apologize. When she arrived, the familiar sight of the modest kiosks brought back a flood of memories. The smell of fried snacks and spices filled the air, and she noticed a few customers enjoying their meal. As she approached, she spotted Daniel behind the counter, busily attending to orders. Daniel, she called out, her voice shaking slightly. He looked up, surprise written all over his face. Dora, he replied, his tone a mix of joy and caution. Taking a deep breath, she stepped closer. Can we talk? Daniel nodded, wiping his hands on a cloth. He stepped away from the counter and led her to the quiet corner behind the kiosk. Dora, is everything okay? He asked, concern etched on his features. I've come to apologize, she began, her heart pounding. I was so selfish and didn't appreciate anything you did for me. I was too caught up in my words to see how wonderful you are. Daniel listened intently. I realized I was chasing a version of love that didn't exist, she continued. What we had was real, and I messed it up. I miss you, Daniel. I miss us. For a moment, silence hung between them. Dora held her breath, hoping he would understand. Finally, Daniel spoke. Dora, I've missed you too. It hurts when we broke up, but I need to know if you really mean what you're saying. Dora nodded earnestly. I do. I want to give us another chance. I want to build something real with you. Daniel's expression changed, a flicker of hope appearing in his eyes. I've always loved you, but I need to see that you're ready to embrace the life we could have together. I am, she assured him, her voice filled with sincerity. With that, a smile broke across Daniel's face, and he reached out to take her hand. Okay, let's give it another shot. Dora and Daniel's relationship continued to grow stronger with time. They learned to accept their differences and focus on what truly mattered. Daniel continued to show Dora a world outside of luxury, and Dora for the first time felt free of the pressures of maintaining appearances. One Saturday afternoon, he invited her to his kiosk. Babe, I need your opinion on something, he said, his tone casual but his hands trembling slightly. When she arrived, the kiosk looked different. It was decorated with small fairy lights, and her favorite flowers, sunflowers, were placed neatly on the counter. Dora smiled, noticing the effort he had put into the setup. What's going on, babe? She asked, her curiosity piqued. Daniel took a deep breath and stepped out from behind the counter. In his hands was a small velvet box. Dora froze, her heart racing as she began to realize what was happening. Dora, Daniel began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. You came into my life and turned it upside down. You taught me to dream bigger, to believe in love, and to be a better man. I know I don't have the riches or the lifestyle you're used to, but I promise to love you with everything I have. Please, do me the biggest honors of my life and marry me. Tears filled Dora's eyes as she looked at the man before her. Yes, Daniel, I'll marry you, she said, her voice breaking. The kiosk erupted with cheers as Sandra and a few other close friends who had been hiding nearby emerged to congratulate them. Dora couldn't stop smiling as Daniel slipped the simple but beautiful ring onto her finger. In that moment, she knew she had made the right choice. Chief Nelson had always been protective of Dora, and her engagement to Daniel had shaken him to the core. He couldn't fathom why his only daughter, who had grown up surrounded by luxury, would choose to marry a man who owned a roadside kiosk. Despite Dora's insistence that her love for Daniel was genuine, Chief Nelson remained unconvinced. Dora, I cannot support this, Chief Nelson said one evening, his voice firm as he sat across from her in his expensive living room. The room, filled with expensive furniture and artwork, felt cold despite its grandeur. I am not asking for your money, Daddy, Dora replied. I just want your blessing. Chief Nelson shook his head. You are making a mistake, Dora. Love is important, but it doesn't pay the bills. How do you expect to live? How will he take care of you? Dora's chest tightened. Daniel works hard, Dad, and so will I. We don't need millions to be happy, please. Her father scoffed. This is not the life I envisioned for you. If you insist on going through with this, you are on your own. I won't support this financially. The words stung, but Dora refused to let her father's disapproval deter her. I understand, Daddy, she said quietly, rising from her seat. But I hope one day you will see that this isn't a mistake. As she walked out of the room, her heart was heavy. She knew her father's words came from a place of love, but his lack of support hurt deeply. Sandra, who had been waiting for her in the car, noticed the sadness on Dora's face as she got in. "What happened?" Sandra asked. "He's not going to support us financially," Dora admitted, trying to keep her voice steady. Dora reached over and squeezed her hand. "You don't need his money, Dora. You and Daniel will figure this out together." Dora nodded, drawing strength from her best friend's support. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she was determined to prove that love and hard work could overcome any obstacle. With her father's decision clear, Dora and Daniel began planning their future without any financial assistance. It was a humbling experience for Dora, who had never had to worry about money before. She started cutting back on her expenses, learning to live within her means. Daniel, on the other hand, doubled his efforts at the kiosks. He began introducing new snacks to attract more customers and worked long hours to save up for the wedding. Their love deepened as they supported each other through the challenges, proving to themselves and others that they were in this together. The road to their wedding day was riddled with challenges, and at times the weight of it all felt unbearable. Dora and Daniel had to navigate every decision carefully. From finding an affordable venue to planning a modest guest list, every step tested their patience and commitment. Sandra played a significant role, often stepping in as Dora's emotional anchor. "You don't need a grand wedding to prove your love," Sandra reminded her one evening as they walked on the invitation at Dora's apartment. "The people who matter will be there, and that's all that counts." Dora nodded, though part of her wished her father would change his mind. She couldn't help but feel a pang of longing when she saw her friends having lavish weddings supported by their families. But each time doubt crept in, Daniel's love reminded her why she had chosen this path. Daniel too was working tirelessly. He began catering small events to save extra money, often staying up late to perfect his recipes. "We'll make it work," he assured Dora during one of their late-night phone calls. "This wedding will be about us, not the money we spend." The wedding day finally arrived. It was held in a small hall, decorated with simple flowers and handmade ornaments. The morning was filled with excitement as friends and family gathered to celebrate the union. Dora wore a beautiful lace gown, her radiant smile outshining everything else. As she stood at the altar holding Daniel's hand, her heart swelled with gratitude. Despite the challenges, they made it. The officiants began the ceremony. As the vows were exchanged, there wasn't a dry eyes in the audience. Just as the ceremony was about to conclude, a murmur spread through the crowd. Chief Nelson had arrived. He stood at the back, his usually stern face softened by a mix of pride and emotion. Dora's eyes filled with tears as her father walked towards her. He placed a hand on her shoulders and whispered, "I couldn't miss my daughter's wedding. I see now that you found something priceless, true love, and I'm proud of you, Dora." The audience erupted in applause as Chief Nelson gave his blessing. It was a moment Dora would never forget. The reception was simple yet lively, filled with laughter, dancing, and heartfelt speeches. Daniel, with his usual charm, surprised everyone by serving small chops he had prepared himself, adding a personal touch to the celebration. Life after the wedding was far from a fairy tale, but Dora and Daniel were ready to face it head-on. They returned to their modest apartment, determined to make it their home. Dora quickly adjusted to her new reality, trading luxury for simplicity, and found unexpected joy in the little things, like cooking meals together with her husband, decorating their small space, and planning for the future. Soon, Daniel's kiosks became busier than ever. Word had spread about the small chops served at the wedding, and others began to pour in. Dora, eager to contribute, decided to help Daniel expand the business. With her knack for organization and networking, she suggested rebranding the kiosk into a proper catering business. "I'll handle the logistics and you just focus on cooking," Dora proposed one evening. Daniel smiled, seeing the spark in her eyes. "Are you sure you're ready for the hustle?" he teased. Dora laughed. "If I can handle my father, I can handle anything." Together, they worked tirelessly, using their limited resources to create a professional brand. Sandra, always supportive, helped them secure a small loan to buy better equipment. With Dora's connection and Donnell's talent, their catering business quickly gained popularity. They started catering for events, hiring more hands, catering for wedding parties, and also corporate functions. Despite their busy schedule, they made time for each other. Friday nights became their date nights, and they would unwind with simple homemade dinners and long conversations about their dreams. Their journey was far from over, but they faced it with a renewed sense of hope and unity. Dora and Daniel learned that love wasn't about perfection or wealth. It was about partnership, trust, and the ability to weather life storms together. Their love story became a source of inspiration, a reminder that true love doesn't come with a price tag. It's all built on trust, resilience, and a willingness to overcome life's obstacles together. The story of Dora and Daniel teaches us that true love goes beyond wealth and material possessions. Dora, once focused on status and luxury, discovered through heartbreak that genuine love is built on trust, kindness, and respect. Despite financial struggles and family opposition, she and Daniel stayed committed to each other, proving that happiness comes from authentic connections, not material riches. Dora's transformation and her father's eventual acceptance highlights the power of humility, growth, and love that triumphs over societal expectations. True love, as the land, is worth every sacrifice. Thank you so much for watching this fantastic story on African Stories by Tiana. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more amazing stories. See you next time.